And they need to back each other.
Hey everyone, I just want to thank you for coming and welcome you back to the speaker series. We have a special guest tonight. We have actually two special guests tonight. And just some housekeeping before we get started. Of course, if you're like me, you need to check your phone and make sure you put do not disturb. Because I know the mayor will call me all soon. Plenty of illustrious guests. So first, I just want to update you on some changes we'll be making to the program. In September, we will not be meeting on a Tuesday or a Thursday, but rather a Saturday. And we have Mike Hoover here to tell us why that's going to happen for a special event. And then in October, we will meet on the fourth Thursday at 5:30. So we changed the date last time we were here so that we could start earlier so you would have more time for questions. And we can't do that on a Tuesday because the little ones are in here making a fine mess that we have to clean up so that we can get ready for you all. Hence the doodles on the carpet. So we'll be switching to the fourth Thursday. Then again in November, we will not meet on the fourth Thursday because we will be out of Villa for a special event. December, we will probably not meet, so the fourth Thursday will start in earnest in January. Anyhow, so before we introduce our speaker, I just want to pass the mic to Naomi Berryberry for a minute. She's the president of the Friends of the Library. She doesn't need the mic.
I don't need the mic, do I? I'm Naomi Dearberry. I'm president of the Friends. I have no relations to Dearberry Lane or the Dearberry Cemetery subdivision. Yeah. Not related. We're glad you're here. We're sponsoring this. The Friends have made some new initiatives that we're doing. I mentioned before that we're doing a members only on the Friday night before our quarterly book sale. This has turned out to be a huge success. We have about 20 to 30 people show up. There's not the big crowds. You don't have to worry about children. Nothing against children, but they can get in the way. But it's turned out really well. We've also started this last book sale. We're handing out cards to any student that is a senior or younger, all the way to babies, and we're giving them a free book. Our whole initiative is to get people reading and to support the library. So we felt like this was something that we could do to increase people's reading, and it's turned out really well. We had 3 teenage girls come in here. They had heard about it from somebody else. They rushed in, got their cards, and they went and got them a book. And they said, thank you. So to me, it's a success. The other thing we're going to start doing, we've got over 180 members right now. And I've talked about the membership and all that. But what we're going to do from now on, if you're a new member, you're going to get a coupon for $5 off a book at the next bookstore. And that's to welcome you to the Friends. And so that's some of the things we're doing. The other thing is our book sale is in October. And right now, the last Saturday, we're trying to partner up with Murray Animal Shelter. And they're going to have their adoption thing set up out here. So we're trying to coordinate with a nonprofit. So we're glad about that. But I appreciate you being here. I want to turn it back to Dana.
Okay, so before we get started, I'm going to have Mike Hoover come up for a moment, and we want to tell you about an exciting adventure we're going to be doing on Saturday, September 30th. I'm going to have him tell you a little more, but just to get you started, we will have a sign-up on our website in which you can sign up for cemetery tour. Now, this will be a fundraiser, so it will not be free. It's $10 if you're over 10. And we will have it set up so that we can shuttle you from one of the local parking lots nearest the cemetery and bring you to the cemetery. And we're trying, if anyone has a 4-seater ATV, we would love to borrow that, or you could just be a chauffeur, so that perhaps we can drive people through the cemetery who will have trouble with the hills because it's hilly for a small place. So Mike's going to tell you a little more about it.
My name is Mike Hoover. I'm the president of the Spring Hill Cemetery Association, and I'm referring to the one on Macklemore, not Spring Hill Memorial on Main Street. We're having our annual fundraiser. It's a cemetery tour on September 30th. It'll be from 2 to 5. It's $10 for anyone 10 years or older. There's a lot of history in the cemetery, but we don't have that many spaces. We literally run off of donations only. The city helps us in no way. They've made it very clear to me on several occasions that they're not going to help us. So this is kind of what keeps the grass mowed and keeps the cemetery in shape. I mean, it's steeped in Spring Hill history. There's, I think, 5 mayors there. Almost every house on Main Street that's still standing was builder is in the cemetery somewhere. So if you all would like to come out and help support us, we'll have different stops, and we'll have people in period attire that are going to give the history of somebody buried in the cemetery.
And you can see why I call him Big Benny. So, to my left is Mini Mike. This is Benny Jett. How many of you know or follow the Ancestry Detector on Facebook? Okay, the rest of you need to look for him. And how many of you, when you were reading his posts, knew approximately how old he is? If you didn't already know how old he is, what is your guess? You can do it by looking at him. How much? Oh. 15?
13.
Close. Is that Joey? His little brother Joey.
Dang it!
Close, Joey. So, Joey and Benny are both extremely tall for their age. And Benny is 13 years old. When he was just 12 years old, he was awarded a pin you will see on his lapel that you will also see on our Mayor Hageman's lapel here. Mayor Hageman awarded him this pin when we gave him the Heart for History Award with the Historic Commission, City of Spring Hill Historic Commission. And we gave him that not just for his work on the Ancestry Detector, but for his work in our history group here in the Spring Hill Library. He helps us with our archive work. Many of our group members are here. Raise your hand if you're in the Spring Hill History group. Okay, so this group meets every week, and they're putting together, we are putting together a, it's highly, it's photographs and captions. It'll be a history of Spring Hill. So one last plea here, if you have any historic pictures of Spring Hill, please bring them in. We will scan them and hand them right back to you and give you credit in the book. And so we're working on that, as well as updating Everybody Has a Story, the book that we all know and love. So if you have a story that you want to share about growing up in Spring Hill, please let us know, and we'll see if we can get you in the updated edition. Not changing it in any way, just adding more. So without further ado, I'm going to let Benny take the mic. And if you have any questions, feel free to ask. We have a group of problem children, or Alicia, that are here to help out with anything that we might need. And so I'm really excited to present Benny.
Thank you all for being here. My name is Benny Jett, and I'm 13 years old, as Dana's already proved. Oh, by the way, if you need a birth certificate, my mom's on the back. As a lot of you probably know, and again, Dana's already proven, I am the Ancestry Detector. But besides that, I am the first recipient of the Heart for History Award by, just like tonight's presentation, the Spring Hill Public Library and the Spring Hill Historic Commission. Some people may say I'm a professional yearbook photo finder, and Dana can confirm it. Oh, and by the way, this is what she looked like in school. I'm kidding. I'm don't want to get into the library. I just want to put out there that all the information I'll tell you tonight is based off of my research and what people have told me. If any of you find something I tell you to be incorrect, please feel free to speak up and let me know. And if any of you have any stories you'd like to share pertaining to something I mentioned, please feel free to share it. This is my story. When I was 6, I found my love of history by learning all the presidents in order and then backwards, just for the fun of it. For a few years after, I focused on American history until one day I was watching a documentary about Abraham Lincoln that mentioned the name of the man who hid John Wilkes Booth after he killed Lincoln, William Stork Jett. The wonder if he was a relative of mine got me interested in genealogy. And yes, as probably many of you in the room, he is my cousin. Now, where was I? About 2.5 years later, in March of 2022, me and my family went to Centennial Park in Nashville. And while we were walking around, we found a monument dedicated to Nashville's founder, James Robertson. I have a ton of ancestors and family in Murray, Marshall, and Williamson counties. And one of my ancestor last names is Reeves. So when we saw the monument also mentions James Robertson's wife, Charlotte Reeves, my mom made the joke of, I wonder if we're related. Once we got home, I looked it up and found that, yes, she is my cousin. And later I would find that James Robertson's sister, Anne, is my 6th great-grandmother, who owned the land of Centennial Park. Around that same time, I found that the Murray County Archives was going to be auctioning off some of their extra genealogy books. So when it came time for the auction, I went ahead and bid for them. During the auction, somebody kept bidding me up, and I could not find out who. But the only thing I did know is that I sure made them pay for the few books they did win. I won most of them, but a few weeks later, I found out that I was bidding against the Murray County Historical Society. When I finally brought home the few hundred books I had won, I found that about half of them were duplicates. And can anybody guess where I decided to give the duplicates to? The Spring Hill Library. I then had my mom get into contact with Dana. And that's where my story starts, with the library. Because of those auctions, I am now, over a year later, a part of the group here at the library about the very special history of our city. Because of the group, I, as Dana mentioned before, I am the first recipient of the Hartford History Award and was given a pin by the mayor only elected officials get, that the mayor himself said is kind of like the key to the city. Since then, I have been writing blogs about people of Spring Hill's past under the name of The Ancestry Detector. But how did I get that name? I was at a bookstore in Franklin, and I was going to buy a book about Nashville. A lady came up to me and said she loved the book and was a descendant of one of the founders of Nashville. We then talked about Nashville's history for a while, and when I got back to the car, I told my mom, it's like I detect relatives around me. That's how I thought of the name, The Ancestry Detector. Bear with me, I'm trying to flip the page. It's very ironic that I'm here, telling you all about roads when I can't even drive. Had to add that one in there. Now enough about me. Let's get started. Great, now I can't remember how to turn it. There we go. These are a few photos of me and the people I've gotten to meet over the years. Now see if I can figure out how to use this. Me and the mayor. Why am I even reading these? It has captions. Figured I should add this photo in it since it's the spring that Spring Hill got its name from. Main Street. Main Street is also called Highway 31, Route 6, Nashville Highway, or Columbia Highway. Before then, it was called Murray Central Pike or Jackson Highway. Can anybody guess why it was called Jackson Highway? Oh, and by the way, it's not named after my friend, Richard Jackson. It was named for Andrew Jackson. President Jackson, after traveling much of the South during the War of 1812, wanted to create a direct route between New Orleans, and Nashville. And traveling what we now know as Highway 31 was easier than traveling the Natchez Trace. In the late 1800s, Main Street was a toll road with a toll gate in front of Early's Honey Stand. In the 1920s, the citizens of Spring Hill petitioned to have the toll road become a state highway. And you can see, I had the photo of that one. And here's some more photos that I found of Main Street. These are the next roads I'll be talking about. Depot Street, Old Military Road, Miles Johnson Parkway, School Street, and McLemore Avenue. Now I gotta figure out how to put this back on so that you go. It'll be fine until it's over. Yeah. Depot Street. Oh. Great, I was trying to read off of this. Does anybody know why it's named Depot Street? A depot is a station, and Depot Street is the location of a train station. The station was founded by Lieutenant General Richard Stoddard Ewell of the Ewell Farm. Ewell provided about an acre of land for the station so he could transport agricultural products more easily. The station was named Ewell Station after him and was used to transport apples and honey from Spring Hill to other places around the country. Ewell Station is the city limits of Spring Hill. Old Military Road. Duplex Road was Old Military Road until around the time of the Civil War. During the Civil War, it was called Mount Carmel Road because it led to the Mount Carmel Cumberland Presbyterian Church. The road was referred to as the Officers and Soldiers Line because the original land grants were given to Revolutionary War soldiers under the Act for the Relief of the Officers and Soldiers of the Continental Line. In 1796, what was Western North Carolina became the state of Tennessee. In 1806, a treaty with the Indians, which was largely the land south of the Officers and Soldiers Line, ended, and the settlers pushed south of that line. According to an 1870 map of Murray County, right there, what is now Beechcroft Road was Old Military Road. Miles Johnson Parkway. Now I gotta flip my page. Miles Johnson was born on June 18th, 1934 in Santa Fe and is still living, but in a nursing home. He was an alderman in the mid-2000s, which led to him becoming vice mayor. That's not the reason the road is named after him, though. He owned the property on Old Kedron Road at the turn where the city wanted to put a road. Miles gave the right-of-way for the road to be built, and for that, the road was going to be named Johnson Parkway. But Miles's wife, Betty, mentioned that there was too many Johnsons in Spring Hill, and it should be named Miles Johnson Parkway instead for that reason. The name Betty suggested soon stuck. School Street. School Street has not always been School Street. Based on some old deeds, it was believed that it was called Maple Street beforehand. The street was later renamed as School Street because all main schools were located on the one street. Can anybody name a few of the schools from that street?
Grantham and Hughes, and that's the school's still there, on School Street, it's a block off of Main,
And that to the right is the gymnasium.
yeah, and the football field, which is now a storage unit.
A few of the schools are the Spring Hill Male Academy and the Spring Hill Female Academy, Grantham and Hughes Military Academy, and the Spring Hill High School. Spring Hill High School and Branham and Hughes are probably the two best known schools in Spring Hill's history. Macklemore Avenue used to be Spring Hill and Raleigh Hill Pike, and then it turned to Kedron Road. But when it was Kedron, Robert Weegley Macklemore owned the land on the bend of the road. That's simply why it was named Macklemore Avenue. But who was Robert? Robert was born on April 19th, 1821, and died November 6, 1897. He is buried at Rose Hill Cemetery in Columbia. His family was full of the name Robert Weegley Macklemore, but have determined that it's most likely to be this Robert than any other. Another nickname for Macklemore Avenue is Graveyard Inn. And these are the next few roads I'll be talking about. Beechcroft Road, Dr. Robertson Road, and Carter's Creek Pike. Beechcroft Road was originally called Beech Grove after the Beech Grove Church of Christ and the Beech Grove School, both on Carter's Creek Pike. It is named Beechcroft after the Beechcroft School for Girls. The Beechcroft School for Girls was a school in the late 1800s and was turned into a home after it closed. William Branham of the Branham and Hughes Military Academy was the owner until it burned in, I believe, 1824. Dr. Robertson Road. Can anyone tell me who Dr. Robertson was? He was a veterinarian of Spring Hill and the surrounding areas. Walter Stansel Robertson was born on October 24, 1897 in Alabama and died March 15, 1871. He enlisted in World War I as a veterinarian, and that work as a veterinarian would last even into the 40s and 50s. Walter lived on what is now Dr. Robertson Road, and that is why he has a road named for him. Laura Lake on Dr. Robertson Road is also named for his wife. Have you ever noticed that Dr. Robertson Road's name changes as you drive down it? It is called Dr. Robertson on one end and Dr. Robinson on another. According to Dr. Robertson's grandson, Stan Robertson, when Dr. Robertson lived on the road, the neighboring farm was owned by a man named Dr. Robinson. The road was supposed to be named Dr. Robertson, but the post office got the name mixed up and it can't be changed back. Carter's Creek Pike. Everyone knows that Carter's Creek Pike is named because of the creek, obviously. But nobody seems to know who the creek was named for, and that's why I'm here. Carter's Creek was named for Benjamin Carter, who was a captain in the Revolutionary War. He and his brother Daniel lived on and owned 5,000 acres there at the creek, which was granted to them for both fighting in the war. Carter's Creek Pike, like Depot Street, has a train station that turned the area and around it into a thriving small community. Because of the numerous farms in the area, people from Theta brought produce and livestock to ship, and trains stopped to take on water from a large pumping station. There was also a gas station and a couple of general stores, which I figured I'd just add photos of for the fun of it. The Carter Creek Post Office, which started in 1850, still stands at the station. And these are the last few roads I'll be talking about. Duplex Road, Buckner Road, Port Royal, Tom and John Lund, Kedron Road, and Greens Mill Road. Duplex Road. Peanut Gallery. Many people, often from out of Spring Hill, when they think duplex, they think of the type of home. But here in Spring Hill, whenever we hear duplex, we think of the road. The road was not named after the type of home, though. It was named for a horse. The horse, who was named Duplex, was bred in 1882 by Witt Coffey in Belfast and died in June of 1906. It is unknown for sure where he is buried, but it is a great possibility that Duplex is buried on the old Campbell Farm property. Duplex was a racehorse and won many races. He even raced against the best of the horses back then, Roy Wilkes. And this one, I figured I'd just add this photo because it's one of the more mainly known stores. Does anybody know that, what's it called? Gas station that's on one of the far ends of Duplex Road? There's this one. Buckner Road. Buckner Road and Buckner Lane are both named after James Rice Buckner and his family. The reason why there is a road and a lane is just to separate the two road names. Both roads lead to where the Buckner family lived, where the two roads intersect. James Rice Buckner was born on July 23rd, 1869, and died on July 21st, 1931. He is buried at Mount Olivet Cemetery in Nashville. Port Royal Road. Can anyone guess what Port Royal Road is named for? The Port Royal Presbyterian Church. Port Royal Presbyterian Church was organized in July of 1871 and locked its doors on December 11th, 1988, over 100 years later. The church building still stands on Jim Warren Road, but is now a residence. Tom Lund and John Lund Roads. There were three brothers, Tom, Sam, and John Lund, that grew up on what is now Tom Lund Road. Sam moved to Nashville, and Tom and John were left to farm the properties that are now Tom Lund and John Lund Roads. The roads were Route 2 until the city had to name the roads and give them individual addresses around 50 years ago. Because they farmed those properties that are now the roads, most if not all their lives, Tom and John are now the namesakes of the roads. Thomas Eli Lund, who was called Tom, was born on April 9, 1867, and died November 29, 1935. He is buried at Spring Hill Cemetery. John T. Lund was born on June 13, 1876, and died October 15, 1953. He was also buried at Spring Hill Cemetery.
Can I say something?
Sure.
Evelyn and Harry Lund still live in Spring Hill. They live out Keaton Road. They've lost one son, but their sons was John and Tom. And when they were in school, was right after, they named those roads, and people were asking them, were those roads named after you? And they went, oh yeah, they were named after us.
Yeah, that's where the confusion comes in.
Were they related?
Yes, grandchildren.
I think it was great-great-grandchildren.
Yeah, Harry's father was one. I think it's John. I got rid of it.
It was John.
John, yeah, I think it was.
Kedron Road. What do y'all think Kedron Road is named for? And Naomi, keep your mouth shut. The word Kedron comes from the Bible. The Kedron community was founded and named in 1850 by Colonel William Pope Parham. Colonel Parham chose the name from the book of Samuel in the Old Testament. The road was built in 1882 by A.M. Parham. When the road was first built, it was named Kedron Pike, but has obviously since then been named Kedron Road.
pronounce it right. Because on the meeting, they say Kedron.
Same with Maury County.
Yeah.
Sometimes I want to slap people. This is the last road I'll be talking about today. Green Mill Road is obviously named after the mill that was ran by the Green family. But who were the Greens? Lucratus C. Green was the first of the Green family to run the mill almost his entire life. And for 4 or 5 more generations, the Green family owned the mill until Ronald Harris Jackson, the husband of Louise Green, had it torn down due to possible injury at the old rusty mill site almost 100 years later.
Naomi was at the Stone Greens that's in the big White House back off the road.
I think so. Or not, they're related, I think.
And just because I feel like it, I'll just tell this story. And Naomi promised not to kill me later. And this is off script, so. A couple months ago, I think, Naomi approached me asking if I could find a photo of Spivey McKissick. I looked and looked and looked, and I could not find anything. But that's when I thought, we were going to Rose Hill Cemetery tomorrow anyway, so why can't I just go grab a photo with me and Spivey McKissick's grave and trick Naomi into thinking I have a photo with him? So when it came time for the next meeting, I walked up to her and I said, I found a photo with Spivey McKissick. She was so excited, and the second I showed it to her, I'm pretty sure she wanted to cuss me out. And since then, I've been mocking her with this photo. Just for the fun of it.
What road is that?
Now, does anybody have any questions?
What is?
Yes, I do. Is General Ewell the same General Ewell that was in the Battle of Gettysburg?
I don't know.
Was it mine?
Yeah, it was.
I know he fought in the Civil War in some of the main battles, but I didn't never heard of those in Gettysburg.
Claire Mathis Road, you know anything about that?
It's a man.
That was a man.
I mean, I have found out it's a man, but he lived in Columbia, but I can't
I
find
didn't
out.
know whether I just really right off of that.
Yeah.
Is the spring that Spring Hill was named for still around?
It's at where the Branham Hughes military academy was, and that's where the Ferguson Hall is now. I don't think it's still standing, but
Alicia Fitz says it's probably under that pond they're doing Kedron Square. There's no way to revive it. It's just nothing. But that's probably where it is. That's what made the pond.
Go back to the middle ball. You know, I moved here in '72, and I tell the story that there was one police officers and one red light. And didn't go. And seriously, and then we got one duplex. But I'm from Nashville, and when you give directions in Nashville, you say you go 2 blocks, turn by Wendy's, or well, here when I moved here, they said, well, you go out to Jack Weaver's barn and you make a left. Well, the one of the mailbox, I don't know if y'all could tell it, it had bullhorns on it. The one that was decorated for Christmas. And so, in that duplex is Port Royal, and that's pretty much where Port Royal still comes out. But the joke was, you just go to the mailbox with bullhorns on it and make a right. That one. But the water tank that you're seeing in the right one, that was behind Verizon. So what you're looking at is downtown, when there was nothing here. And that was in '87.
That was City Hall, the police department, the jail, you name it. Yeah, that's what
Oh, and by the way, there will be a test on if everybody actually listened to what I'm saying. can't get out. I can't get out of my head the face Dana made when she said when she thought I was having your report on there.
No, this is at Macklemore and Rose. This is some of, the one on the right is Macklemore and Depot. To your left, you can barely see a square sign that was First Farmers. That's where Jimmy's Cleaners is. Where the Gulf sign is, that's all been leveled out, and your Sherman and Williams is up on that hill. And then to the left of that, where those cars is, that's Verizon.
That was a restaurant.
Oh, Cedar Inn and
Watson's Cafe.
Watson Cafe.
Watson Cafe.
Or maybe it was Cedar Inn, maybe it was something. It's changed a lot.
Then that, F station, was made into a Red River Mart.
Yeah.
Quick review.
It's interesting too that the Springville High School is just PA back in the compression.
And for Naomi's sake. In this photo, I think it's right over in this area.
Graveyard Inn was the African American black school. Yeah.
I actually never put two and two together that was on that road. I thought it was on School Street.
No, it was right next to the cemetery where those two houses on the right hand side of the road going.
And it was the first library.
Also, where Kedron Road is now, that meets 31, that was not Kedron Road, that was Lake Avenue. And it was a dead end. It dead ended right where they're building that, credit union. And Kedron came up.
That is Wild's Grocery,
Yeah, I forgot to mention that one.
but it was Garyberry Grocery, and that was Willard, the one that, Garyberry Estates and Garyberry Lane. He had all that, but that's part of his family. He had 4 girls, and the kids had no place to go to wait on the bus. And so he built that so they would have a place to get out of the weather to wait for the bus. But now it's Wall's Grocery.
And just for the fun of it, why not ask? Who knows of the Jackson Road that's right there by on Keatron Road, right where it goes towards Main Street? I've already asked Richard, because I figured you just need to ask Richard questions sometime in here. It's a name for your family.
It was uncle, wasn't it? Bud.
But it was Bud.
Bud.
And Jones is George Jones. They built that subdivision. And Bud had a grocery store that was called that. It was his uncle. Richard's uncle.
He's sitting right behind you, Naomi.
The what?
He's sitting right behind you.
Richard who?
Richard Johnson.
Hey,
It's
Benny.
also usually Richard being the one that referees it.
Hey, Benny, can you tell us, some people here might know, but who's Jim Warren? It's Jim Warren Road, but who is that?
I was actually wanted to add him into this presentation, but I couldn't find a photo of him. He was the, on Jim Warren Road, he farmed the land that was on Jim Warren Road, but that's honestly the reason why he had the road named after him. And if I had his birth and death dates, I'd read those, but should have had those print out. And just another one, why not add? Joe P. Road. I'm going off memory here, so Naomi, correct me if I'm wrong. Pretty sure that actually maybe Alicia told me this. He was a milkman for the area, and he also used to use the milk truck as a school bus for the kids to bring them to school. And that's how all the story started about him being a drunk driver. Just for the fun of it, I'll go back to the Spivey McKissick photo.
Hey, Benny, what about Alex Drive? I think we have an audience member who can help us with that too.
I know it was named after an Alex Jenkins, which probably related to Alicia, not Alicia, but Sandra.
I can tell you, Alex Jenkins was one of the oldest African Americans in the first subdivision, which was called Newtown. So the name Alex was him because he lived on that street.
And what about Buford?
What
What about Buford Road Drive? Lane.
Well, I don't think there's anybody in this room that could tell us about Buford Lane, not even me.
Buford is my family, and that's 44 acres down there, out from Lee's Lane. Was my husband's family. Since I married him, he gave me a piece too.
And it feels like my family too, since you refer to me as your godson.
What is the name of the oldest road here in Spring Hill?
According to Alicia, she said that one of the oldest roads in Spring Hill is actually Old Military Road, because it was founded in the late 1700s when Spring Hill had just became a city. And that's actually where the Indians said that, basically said, on the road's the line that the Indians said, basically on the left side of the road is our land, and on the right side of the road is your land. You cannot pass this part of the road. And therefore, as I mentioned, their treaty ended in the early 1800s, and that's when they were able to cross over and get to what is now the Ewell Station and Depot Street. Does anybody else have any more questions? Okay.
Your research that you used the books that you acquired, but did you also use like more internet based or?
I usually use more of the Ancestry.com and findagrave.com than I do anything else. But if I can't find something from there, or if I need to prove something from there, I go out to the garage, my man cave, and grab one of the books from out there and research it.
So like the Fred Smith cemetery book or something like that, those were those some that you acquired?
The books that I donated to the library are actually in the conference room next door. Okay. A few of the Murray County books that I had were Murray County Cousins, the Murray County History and Families book, the Frank Hawkins, Fred Hawkins, his book, which there's also a funny story behind that because not only did I get the books written by the people, I got the books that were previously owned by some of the people that wrote those books. Like Fred Hawkins. I had the Hither and Yon book. I have that book that was previously owned by him. And it has his own notes in there saying, I need to add this one to the book, I need to add this one into the book. And the same with one of the previous librarians of the library, this library, Helen Dart. Yeah, who I'm related to. Of course, everybody. I just have to walk by everybody in this room and call them cuz. But, and the funny story behind that is, was it before Helen died or after she died when they threw away the books? Before she died, all the books on all her genealogy and artifacts that she had were thrown away. And I think it was Gwen Evans and Yeah, Naomi. I forgot that one. Somebody's not singing Richard, you know. But those books were somehow given to the archives in Murray County, where I got them from. So it made the full loop around from the trash to Naomi and Gwen to the archives to me to the library.
Thank you, baby.
Mayor Hageman would like to come up and say a few words about Benny. But while he's walking up here, we just want to thank Benny for making this archive. Maybe we'll name it after him.
Yeah, so I can talk loud as well. So yeah, so I have some takeaways from this session, Mr. Jett. Thank you. My first one is, I guess that we're all cousins. I naturally kind of critique different things that happen all the time. I just naturally do that. And Mr. Jett, I want to say your delivery and your presentation was outstanding. You're 13 years old. It was injected and infused with comedic relief through the whole thing. Every audience member was laughing because of the things that you did. Your PowerPoint presentation wasn't just a slide that went this way and that way, but it popped at you. So you engaged us that way. It was outstanding. Your script, your script that you wrote, you were right on point for everything. Again, the audience, as I looked around, because I sat in the back of the room, they were always engaged. And sir, as a representative of the citizens that live here and work here, I am proud that you are one of them, and you are an outstanding citizen. And this was amazing. Great job.
Start calling Richard Grandpa Richard.
Don't go there with me. The thing is, there is no concise list of all the mayors of Springfield. I've been to the election commission, I've been to the archives, we've looked here. If y'all go in this conference room, there's photos of most of the mayors, but there's like 5 or 6 that are missing.
Still need to add my photos title because
Well, we may put that up. The only thing we can figure out is that we do have a photograph of Spivey McKissick, but he's about this big. And the house that was where Haynes Haven is was called Woodlawn, and he lived there, and his daughter lived there. He lived there, and the daughter, right?
I don't know.
Okay. But
he was
anyway,
there for it, you know?
Yeah, evidently there wasn't a lot of people taking photographs that we could find. So the first few we can, and he has found all of ours in the group, our graduating picture, and made a card out of it. So I asked him, I said, well, you see if you can find Spivey McKissick, and this is Spivey. He was our first and second mayor, because we reincorporated twice, well, 3 or 4 times. 1837. Good job.
You can stop in the room next door and visit with all our mayors. Another mayor is in the room right now, Brandon Pellet. Someday Benny's picture will be up there. And then also take some time, we have a local history section in the far part of the library. And there are photos there similar to ones you've seen here. We're adding more all the time. We've got a lot of sporting pictures as well. And just know that we're trying to build our archive to rival Winston Murray someday. Because both archives are wonderful, and they are helping us build our word both. I know it's fine with us. That's great. Thank you, Betty, for helping us.
Turn off what this is. As I said before, I'm going to be 13, but if you old lady want technology.